Good morning.
You're like,
if you are not aware, the room is set up differently today. So you can come up here and sit if you'd like. So after we meet each other, if you want to come up close for a front row view, we still got 4 seats here, 4 here. These are special price today. They're free. So come on up if you want. But you got 1 minute. You got to meet somebody you don't know. If you're online, send a direct message to somebody you don't know. Ready? Go.
The other one was like, I guess I'd rather have it before dinner. Good morning. Feel free to come over here and sit. Liliana, Michelle, you can come over.
They're so happy to see each other. I'm sorry you all had to suffer through an ice storm last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, hey, we had fun last week, right?
It was a rush. You missed it.
Yeah.
I did peek at a couple things on the video after, so it was fun. Okay, so you'll notice it's a different setup here. Next week's even a different setup. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's recognize our vendors and our affiliates.
Yep. So let's go through, running back through. I'm sorry if I see. Okay, thank you. Adam, let's start with you and then we'll hit with Justin in front.
Adam McGrath with Comparion Insurance Agency. We always appreciate getting to help home buyers with insurance.
Awesome. Jess.
Jess Bowman Insurance Group, and anything insurance related, just let us know if you have questions. It's kind of crazy right now with insurance, and there's a lot of underwriting stuff and issues, and so if we can help, we are definitely happy to. We appreciate you guys.
Awesome. Christy.
Title for all your title and escrow needs, just let me know. So
Casey Cooper.
Casey Cooper with Summit Lending. Anything you need help with on mortgages? Nicole?
Snuck in. Christina.
Christina Ferrante with 417 Home Loans. I'm excited to see rates in the low 6s.
Band to match. I love it. Did I miss anyone? I'm sorry. I'm really short.
Anybody online?
No? Okay.
Awesome. Also, was this from?
This Thursday, February 1st, we are hosting a vendor expo. So
There
if
we
you
go.
have anybody in your network that you would love for them to come and be a part of the Keller Williams vendor program, invite them Thursday. Denise Knight, who is our strategic partner chair for the ALC, will be running it along with Nicole. Nicole, is there anything I need to mention or are we all good? Yep. Okay. No RSVP necessary, just 5:30 right down here in the training center.
It's gonna be growing again this year like it did last year.
Yes.
So we're excited about that. And onward.
Haley.
Hi, everyone. Haley with Onward. I have exciting updates at Onward. We are coming out with a monthly newsletter, so keep an eye out for that. It's not just for Onward clients. It'll include all kinds of things, tips from a TC, social media graphic downloads, and a ton more. So keep an eye out for that here shortly. But yeah, that's all.
Very cool.
She brings the enthusiasm. Love it.
All right, our vision is to be the real estate company of choice for agents and their customers / I like the word clients
I do
better.
too, I do too.
But every week we talk about our MVV, B, or P. So it's just important that we focus on, if you don't keep thinking about what the things you're focused on, you'll forget about. So I think it's important we do this each week.
Love it.
And so by that, we do a culture winner each week.
Mike's still on Florida
Oh
time.
my-
He's catching his words. He came in yesterday off the flight to join us, so. it was
So
awesome.
yeah, my brain is, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so last
Exactly.
week, it was Steve Cox Homes Group that won the Culture Award. This year, they would like to nominate someone who is super friendly, always happy and smiling, and just gives off a great vibe. And we often see her because she's usually tracking down Millie, who loves visiting their office for yummy treats. Melinda is a ray of sunshine. Thank you, Melinda, for all your kindness and all that you do to lift others up. So Melinda Love is this week's winner.
Tell her congratulations.
Oh, I bet she's gonna love this.
Her phone number is 417-988-1053. Again, 417-988-1053. Yay. So she'll get to keep this traveling trophy and get the other one also. Jim or Don, do we have either one here?
No, but we'll talk about that. CE on that side. We don't have a
Okay,
slide for that.
Cool. All right, stats for the week. It was interesting as I was doing this at 5 o'clock at the airport on Monday before I flew back in 60-degree weather. But the number of available listings went down because contracts went up in everywhere except East. And East, they only went down by 3. A lot of buyers did stuff last week, so that's why it jumped up so much. If we look at compared to last year, you can see we're a little lower on some of the numbers. So I don't know how to compare that right now because it's so weird this year. Everything is a little different every week. And the minute they announce the interest rates, things change. It's all over the place. And it's an election year and it's leap year and it's all that stuff. And it's just gonna be crazy all year. So you know what? Just keep taking care of your people. Keep selling houses, keep listing them, and it'll work. But you will see, you should not call people you're not supposed to. Do not get sued, do not call people, always be in a TCPA compliant friendly way. The number of active listings yesterday morning went down dramatically, again, because so many listings were sold. So again, I think we're gonna get up into the 1700s this year. That's why I got those 3 highlighted, to sort of be a goal we go for. But compared to last year, we're 200 higher compared to 2022. Look at that. We're over double where we were.
And for those in the back, this number is 1,333. Last week it's 1,376.
So there's homes out there, there's buyers out there. Just keep taking care of your people and the right things are gonna happen. Okay, calendar stuff.
Yeah, so we are in the middle of Ignite, as you can see as we went through. For those of you that had attended our luxury home tour, I think we had like 30 people that went and visited. So thank you, Susan. Thank you, Austin, for giving your time. And then from what I've heard on the feedback is we're actually gonna have a couple of classes because a lot of agents have reached out saying, how do I get into luxury? And so Austin and Susan are gonna talk about that. So we have this for January as we finish out Ignite. And then we don't have February's up yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
And Nicole did put a note, there's another luxury home tour in March.
Yep, perfect. And so a couple of things to note, if you did not know, the Chiefs are headed to the Super Bowl, right?
What?
Yep. So in fashion, like we normally have, mark your calendars for February 9th. From 11 to 1, we're going to do a cookout.
Is it 9th or is it?
It should be because the Super Bowl is on
Yes,
the
I
11th.
can't add.
Yep. So February 9th from 11 to 1, we'll be doing a cookout. We did this last year and it was a $10 Springfield Cares donation too. And we haven't decided menu, but that is coming. So February 9th, mark your calendar for that.
And that's, you should wear red, even those of us that are secret Cowboys fans will have to wear red.
Yep.
I think we're gonna do Red Day this year.
Oh, we're gonna do for Red Day? Okay, cool. So we're gonna start raising funds for Red Day. Perfect.
Very cool.
Cowboys, man.
All right.
Shanna, come on up.
All right, so next month is February. Actually, like this week is February. So with all this talk of listings, why not roll out a competition? Because that is the most fun thing to do when we gamify things. So this is going to be Loving on Listings. It's going to start on Thursday the 1st and it's going to end on Thursday the 29th. So you get an extra day because of said leap year. The rules and the categories and the prizes will all be announced tomorrow on our Facebook page. So you've got to get on Facebook to figure out what it all looks like. There's gonna be some great prizes and we'll talk about really what it's gonna look like. It's listings taken and made live on the market. So if you've got anything that's kind of in the works, this would be the time to push that urgency.
Yeah, so we like to run this contest every February, just kind of like bold with our activities of what are we focusing on. And so how this will work is once you put something live, then we'll be able to track it on our side. We normally break it out into different groups. Previously, we've done like large team, individual, because we want to kind of keep it even across everything. And we've had some really cool prizes in the past. So I'm thinking Landon will bring the same energy this year. So
Oh, yeah, it's good stuff.
if you have any questions on that, let us know.
Let's see what else we got here.
This year.
That's fine.
So we're into our first quarter growth galore team meetings. Today we have Sarah Fields Fields or Fields? I saw Sarah walking. With an S?
Yes.
All right, I got it right in there. How many of you know what the OTO is? Those are transportation. Good, some of you do. You're gonna learn about that and how it can help you know what you're doing with your clients. So she'll be coming up here in a little bit. Next week, we're gonna talk about that. Actually, we'll get to that in a second, but awards night.
So March 22nd will be the KW Awards Night. I know Sheila had posted that on the internal page, so we'll be back at the old glass place. Nicole will have an RSVP link once we're ready. It'll be 6 o'clock that evening. So mark your calendars now, March 22nd.
This is the last day you get to see this slide. Board dues are due tomorrow, right?
Well, 31st. So the last day to pay your board dues without getting the $50 late fee is January 31st. We got our updated list, so we will be making calls to you if you have not paid your dues. Anything paid after January 31st will be a $50 late fee. If you do not pay your board dues by February 29th, unfortunately, your license will go back to the MREC.
Yep, and that's not good because you've worked to get it. Get these things done, make sure you get it turned in on time. Nancy.
Nancy, come talk about Women's Council.
Okay, so Women's Council of Realtors.
This is the amazing Nancy Evans, everyone. Woo.
First see you again. So we are having our Tradesman Expo a week from Thursday. So next Thursday is our Tradesman Expo. It's at the Relics Event Center. We already have about 15 vendors signed up and we have more planning to sign up. We've got about 50 people that have already realtors that have already committed to being there also. It's from 10 to 1 next Thursday at the Relics Event Center. I will post flyers on the bulletin board upstairs, or you could always reach out to me. The flyers have the thank you QR code. If you are a vendor, it's got the direct link to register. If you're not a vendor, there are 2 different flyers. If you're not a vendor, also we are asking you to register. So that way we can give feedback to the vendors on who is there and how many people to expect. So when they bring their bling, they can, their swag, I mean, they can do it. But I'm sorry, I have got to do a pitch also for the Springfield Little Theater, because if you haven't seen In the Heights, it is an amazing production. I will also post that on the bulletin board, and then I won't talk about it, but I just want to say ULI. If you ever hear about ULI, you say, what is that? Call me. I will tell you about ULI. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Nancy.
Secrecy.
Yeah, I just don't want to take the time. I could
Got
spend
it.
like half an hour talking about it.
On In the Heights, Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote that, so that was like before he did Hamilton.
Yeah.
And Little Theater is amazing. The talent we have in this town is insane. So try to get to those if you can. It's a great evening, date night, that kind of stuff. It's good, good quality.
And they're partnering with Mosaic on that. So just the talent, the unknown talent is amazing.
Yep. Okay, how many of you were at Vision Breakfast last year? Okay, those of you that weren't, this is a totally different team meeting next week. It starts with breakfast at 9, and the room will be totally set up different. It'll be like rows, kind of like Thanksgiving dinner. And then it's a look back at 2023 and a vision casting for this next year. It is a great thing if you have somebody who's thought, what is all this weirdness of KW? This is a great thing to invite them to, so they can see it. I think we're gonna even be able to zoom it and live stream it this year too. So I'm excited about it. Almost all the pieces are together. Vendors and affiliates, it's a little different from normal things. But again, I think you'd love being part of it. So just realize next week, 9 o'clock, this room was full last year. It's gonna be full again. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. And MREO.
Yeah, so Monica Reynolds is coming to Springfield. It'll be Monday, March 25th and Tuesday, March 26th. We'll be at Relic. So this is the Millionaire Real Estate Operations Boot Camp. So if you've ever had questions about, in terms of ops, what kind of playbooks do I need to have? What kind of systems, tracking, all of that? This would be the class to attend. You'll leave with a binder this thick, full of systems, playbooks, conversations, all of that you can implement into your business. So get signed up today.
And Family Reunion is less than a month away now.
It is.
It is in Vegas. There are 4 reasons they put on here. We've gone through this several times. It's the industry's biggest training, networking, culture event. They've got amazing top keynote speakers. Explore the latest command updates in person. And I think they have command people, like if you're having an issue, you can sit down with them, reserve a time, and they'll walk through things with a human right there with you. And it's Vegas. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Here's a flight sample. Some people have said, I can't get there for the whole thing. And actually, because of the Chiefs, there are now some straight flights from Kansas City going there. I don't know if they're gonna still be going by the time we get to Family Reunion, but one of them is flight number 1989, one of them is flight 87. They did it for Taylor and Travis.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But those might still be flying, so there's a lot of different options to get there. But we did find some flights to go down Sunday and come back Wednesday afternoon. If you do that, the only thing you'd miss is Inspirational Morning, which I hate that you have to miss it, but you get Mel Robbins, you get everything else in there. Also, House of Blues, they have a party going for the MAPS coaches and guests, and it has DJ Warren Peace.
Yep, and it's a 20s theme.
Oh, really?
Yep, roaring 20s.
Because we're in the 20s. Oh, my gosh.
I already got my headpiece.
Oh, jeez. Nicole, what do you have from tech for us?
Yeah, so the next slide still has our continuing education, just so that everybody knows that is due this year. So 2024 renewal year for continuing education and your license. We do have a CE code or a CE cheap code. So you can get all 12 hours for under $50. I believe it's $48. Just be aware, the code of ethics has not been added to this list just yet. So if you have started, which I do give you all the benefit of the doubt that you have started your CE for the year. But if not, don't worry, it will be uploaded in the next couple of weeks, they have assured me. So make sure that you're getting this done. And then go ahead and go to the next slide. And I did bring this up last week. So we have new Smarter Smart Plans are live. I taught a workshop last week. I am teaching a class next month. And then KWRI, they have a tech enablement team that teaches as well. So I'm going to post that link here in the chat. So you can also join a virtual training that is taught by Keller Williams University tech enablement team. They're awesome. They train me. That's it.
Yay. We're all waiting for it. Love it.
Okay, realtor slides for the week. Again, you get these every Sunday, so don't spend a lot of time here. If you've had trouble with two-factor authentication, there's been about 50 people out of the 2,700 that have. There's an it's still supposed to say open house on February 23rd between 9 and 11. You can walk in with your devices and they'll help you get them set up. So if you're one of them that's had issues with that, they will get that going for you. Some more non-CE educational opportunities. The awards ceremony is February 2nd for deadline for the specialty awards. That's like broker of the year, rookie of the year, salesperson of the year. You can go on and submit people for that. I think you can even submit yourself. So if you think you're really good, go for it. This is a thing coming up with Officer Prevey. I just know about it, but I didn't read a whole lot on the info yet, but I want to make sure you all are aware of this.
Sponsoring, it's gonna be awesome.
There we
It's
go.
all about handy-capable people and the opportunities that we could maybe present to help accessible housing be more of a thing. And Officer Prevey and his wife are gonna be there to talk about their struggle whenever overnight he became handicapped. So I think it'll be really cool.
Awesome. And that's at the board?
Yes, it is.
Awesome, cool. I love that the people we have connected with us are also sponsoring other things. I think it's amazing that you all do that. Valentine's Happy Hour, YPN has a party at Uncle Bentley's on February 13th. And then this I thought was cool because 2 of our people are on this. That's why I left this up here too. Gala Masterclass, if you're wanting to learn how to do events, this is kind of letting you know how these things happen. Elisa's not in here today, is she?
Nope.
Okay, but she's on there. Haley Kolstad, who's sort of our KW family. I don't know the other 2, I don't believe. Do I? But again, our people are kind of making an influence everywhere. Grant opportunity. As of last year, there was $143,000 in fine money sitting there that needs to be used. If you have a grant of some kind of community involvement thing you're interested in, fill out the grant application. You can get money towards whatever you're doing. So check that out. That's what it's there for. They're trying to get all that fine money used for different things to help the community and help realtors. And I thought this one was important. We are realtors. I am realtor. It always makes me think of that. When you're sick, do you go to the doctor?
Yes.
No, you don't. When you go to In the Heights, do you see acators? So you don't see realtors. It is realtor, and that's been a joke forever, that's, make sure you're saying it right. It is realtor, not realtor or realtor. There's all kinds of different ways, so anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. All right, going on. And Sarah, on this slide, I did spell your name wrong. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, Sarah comes up. I'm gonna show you all. Can you believe I have some paper files? And in this, there used to be these things people got all the time called newspapers. And look, this is one from 2013, and it said, hey, this road called Kansas might be extended at some point. And I had a whole file of this because I thought, hey, I have people buying houses, selling houses near these things that need to know all the information that's there. This is my whole file, and most of it's from OTO stuff I've gone to of what was happening with Kansas, which was scheduled since the 80s. All this information is there, but a lot of times we all don't know about it. So there are, believe it or not, there's more roads being planned. There's more growth going on in our community, correct?
Correct.
So Sarah, come on up. She's the, I'm gonna switch to your slide. Hopefully this works. We're switching from Google Slides to PowerPoint. It did. So I give you Sarah Fields from Ozarks Transportation Organization. Let's give her a round of applause.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me. I thought I would start with a little bit about what OTO is and what we do. So our mission is to provide a forum for cooperative decision-making in support of an excellent regional transportation system. We're actually funded with fuel tax. So every time you get a gallon of gas, there's an 18.4 cent federal fuel tax, and then there's a state tax, which is right now 24 cents. And that goes to fund tons of transportation improvements, including transit, but it also funds our operations. And we're matched by dues from the cities and counties that are member organizations. We can't just select members like a lot of organizations can. It's governed by federal law. So that's part of why these are our boundaries. It has to do with the growth and how much the density of the population is. So really, we just cover parts of Christian and Greene County, Springfield, Republic, Willard, Battlefield, Stratford, Ozark, and Nixa. So because in Missouri, we are one of the top tier in terms of population, so we're over 200,000, that puts us in the same tier with Kansas City and St. Louis. So they have partner organizations like ours, East West Gateway and Mark. So if you ever hear about them, we're kind of the same thing. The difference between us and say like the organization in Joplin or Jefferson City or Columbia is size. And because of that size, we get direct funding allocations. We get about 10 million a year to decide, federal dollars to decide how we spend here locally. So we're in a little bit of a different tier because of that. We do track population growth. This is a slide that I actually gave to legislators earlier this year, talking about our growth rate, which I know you guys track too. But our growth rate really is tracking pretty steady across, the last 30, 40 years. This last year was about 1%, but when you look at the rest of Missouri, we're doing so much better. When you look at the rest of the United States, of course, there's other places like Northwest Arkansas that, is just growing like crazy, but we're even ahead of Tulsa. So things to note. We also track building permits, so we get permit data from our 7 cities and 2 counties, and we've been tracking, back to the 90s, but we kind of just have this slide since 2010 showing where the growth happens. And the reason we care about this is because we're planning for transportation improvement. So we're trying to figure out where people are growing, where the traffic's growing, so that we know what to plan for. The other thing we track is, are people driving more? Even though we're growing, people may or may not be driving more. So not unexpected. We were at an all-time high in 2019, COVID hit, things came to a slump, and now we're almost back up to 2019 levels and are expecting that to continue. So a point I wanted to make
Somebody was online.
Yeah. But a point I wanted to make with this is because we've been tracking permits, is we all know, for those of us who've been around a while, that back in the early 2000s, we were growing like crazy, right? We were seeing 4,000 permits a year. And I hear people talking, well, we're back to that growth. We're not back to that growth. We're about 1,500, 1,300 a year. So we're tracking that. I mean, we're nowhere near we were, which I don't think it's a bad thing because we're at a healthier level. We can plan for that. Our schools can plan for that, our fire stations, all of our services. So we do have this. And then go back, but in case you guys wanted to have links or send it out, I put links to some of the different things throughout this presentation. So there's a link here to our growth trends report. You can just probably search on our website, ozarkstransportation.org, and find that there as well. But all of this information is available, as well as in-migration and out-migration, which for the first time, one of the top areas for in-migration is California. We've all heard it for years. People are coming from California, but they've never been the top until the last year. So that's been interesting. So some of that data is in there. Things that we focus on our organization, one is maintain the infrastructure. You know, we all want to make sure to take care of what we have, that we keep the transportation system in good condition. Safety, probably one of our top goals, or maybe the top, saving lives and making things safer out there. Congestion, keeping traffic moving, investing in other mobility options such as trails and sidewalks and transit. We are always seeking more federal funds, bringing in outside money, and then making our projects, happen faster. So I've just put a couple of slides in here. We are in really good condition as far as the state of our roads and our bridges. Here in our area, 93% bridges in good condition, which is great. We don't have crumbling infrastructure. We don't have although we have some potholes, the overall condition is really good. Safety crashes have not been trending in the right direction. Overall crashes are high, but more importantly, injury and disabling and fatality crashes are at all-time highs too. So that's very discouraging. We really think it can be attributed to distracted driving and aggressive driving and speeding. So those are the top three. Almost always when you see a crash, it's due to inattention or aggressive speeding. We also are looking at bicycle and pedestrian facilities, and those are on the rise as well. I think there was a story on KY3. I didn't get a chance to look at it last night. We're currently conducting a safety plan. We got a federal grant to look at regional safety. And what that does for us, not only does it help us improve safety, but it makes us eligible for federal grant funds for safety projects. So out of this plan, hopefully we'll have a top 10 or 20 list of projects for safety that we can go and ask Federal Highway Administration, the USDOT, for funding for. One thing that I think, especially you guys, and it's all of our responsibility then, is to talk about the positive things for our region. And one of those things is commute times. We have really, really stable commute times. We track them every year, about 22 minutes. I mean, it's outstanding to have that kind of commute time, especially when, compared to other parts of the country. And not only that, but it's really stable. I think that MoDOT and our members and all of us have done a really good job in investing in capacity improvements in the transportation system. So like one of the ones I hear a lot is the commute from Nixa to Springfield. It's really stable. We may not like it, but it's not getting worse and it's not growing. So that's good news. We are focused on I-44 this year as an agency and our partners. Really, it's just a difficult situation. I think we hear about a crash almost every week. 190 crashes last year, and 60 of those involved heavy trucks. 67 of those were injury crashes. 3 were fatality crashes in which 6 lives were lost. And 2 of those 3 were commercial vehicles. The thing about I-44 that's interesting is we did an origin destination study, which if anyone doesn't know, your cell phones are tracked. Those apps that you download give us information that we can purchase, so we did. And 63% of the traffic on I-44 is local. So it's people getting on one exit in Springfield and getting off either on another exit on I-44 or 65 or somewhere in town.
How much percent?
63%.
Wow.
Right.
Are those statistics just for like I-44 in Greene County around here for like state to state?
No, that's so we drew a boundary
from West Bypass to Stratford. So that told us what percentage stays there and what percentage is entering and exiting. Yeah.
There were 190 crashes just in that.
In a year. Yeah, it's terrible. And then on top of that, when there is an accident, the average is 94 minutes to clear it. So often one lane can be kept open, but often it can't. So we have an hour and a half where nobody can get through on I-44. And 54 of those crashes greater than 30 minutes clearance time. So we're focused on it for those reasons, also because of the growth planned. We have the highest amount of freight, I-44 does, of any corridor in the state, and we have the highest value of freight, and it's only going to increase. So we have projections of 300% increase in weight and 450% increase in value by 2045. So we're very excited. There is a 6-lane project planned right now. What we're asking the governor for is 14 million for I-44 and 2 million for the ramp onto Kansas. And what that gets us is not the 6 lanes, because that's already funded. It gets it done in concrete. And while that's controversial for people who love asphalt, what it does for us is we don't have to go out there with construction for another 20, 25 years versus every 7 or 8 years with asphalt overlays. And because accidents happen in construction zones, delays happen, we're really focused on let's get in there one time in 2025 and 26, and then let's get out. So one of the things we do is project selection. And the reason we're able to help MoDOT select projects is because it's written in the federal law. It's a federal code that we have to select projects using federal funds together. So that's where that comes from. So we have a process, a data-driven process to select the transportation projects that get done first. The first thing we try to focus on is the high volume corridors. One, because that keeps people off of our neighborhood streets and that keeps our commute times low. We look at safety. We give extra points for rail crossings because that's a big safety issue as well. We look at current congestion, but we also look at projected congestion. So that's why we're looking at the growth to see where congestion will be in the future. We track the travel speed. We actually have units that are installed at stoplights that track phone signals from light to light and tells us the average travel speed. We give points for multimodal sidewalks, trails, and bus projects. We also give extra points for freight, extra points for bridge condition, and then we also focus on low income and minority populations. I put a couple of slides in here just to kind of illustrate. I know you can't really see what we're looking at. The red on the left is the volume to capacity or the current congestion. So those red areas are where we actually have more traffic than the road is designed to handle. And then on the right are the areas that were projected in 2045 with the projected growth, assuming that we don't build anything else. That's what would be congested in the future. Another one I put in there was the travel speeds. So we're tracking AM travel speeds and PM travel speeds. So those in red are on the arterial system, which is the non-freeway, about 20 miles an hour below the speed limit. And then on the freeways, anything over 10 comes up red. So that's where we're awarding and prioritizing projects. Some of the projects that we have prioritized is a 1344 interchange. That is not scheduled for any work until 2027. And if you haven't heard or seen any of the news stories, there will be a flyover coming southbound to eastbound to try to clear out some of that congestion. We had tracked up to 20-minute delays on that one movement. So this is going to be a big solution for that. The widening of US 65, I think it's due to start in March for that next phase from CC down to 14 down to South. So that's going to be a big improvement for Ozark. 60, both east and west of Springfield are planned for improvements, but not until 2028. One would be 6 laning from James River Freeway, Highway 60 and James River Freeway onto the new MM extension. So you can see a new signal's been put out there on Highway 60. So that would be 6 lanes from that piece. Unfortunately for our region, we can't afford just big projects. We kind of handle it bit by bit, piece by piece. So that's a piece of that. And then west of Springfield, what we have now is a bunch of at grade intersections that are safety issues, kind of like at 125 where that improvement's being done. We're going to convert that to a freeway, and that'll probably be 2028. The MM relocation removes the railroad bridge that is currently by the Come and Go out in Republic, and there will be a new bridge built in a different location over the railroad, and that crossing will be closed. Of course, you talked about Kansas. What do I understand it is any day now that first phase should be opened up, is what Greene County is saying. And then that second phase has got about a 2-year construction timeline. So we probably won't see that part from Plainview over to Cox for about 2 years. We also are looking at Kansas Expressway widening from Green to Sunshine. There's a lot of backups there at Sunshine that this is supposed to address. There is additional widening east of Ozark. Of course, under construction right now is 160 in AA and 160 in CC. And I encourage you to go to MoDOT's website if you're interested in that configuration, because it's a little bit different than some of the stuff we've seen as far as they call it a diverge about, I believe. Or it's interesting. It is, it's interesting. And then MoDOT has all kinds of safety projects on Glenstone, Kearney, Chestnut, and Sunshine. And there is a public meeting, I believe, next week on the Sunshine access issues there. If you're interested in projects and their timing and their funding, I put a link in here to our transportation improvement program, which includes MoDOT's projects as well as the local projects. I think the map feature is the easiest to use. When you go to that, and then there's all these check boxes there on the left, and I would encourage you just to do the roadway system improvements in yellow, because otherwise you get every maintenance or every other kind of project. So I also wanted to give you a link to our major thoroughfare plan, which this is where you'll find the future extensions like Kansas. Right now, I will warn you, there is a line for an FF extension that goes through new subdivisions that we need to examine a better place for, what that needs to look like. And we're currently kind of sorting through some of that and hope to relook at that summer into the year. But this is a link to that map to see all those future alignments, such as Kansas, so you can be aware if you have any properties that might be impacted. So of course, we're interested in mobility options such as the trail. The first piece in Greene County of the Chadwick Flyer Trail is open. This is a picture of it below. Ozark has had their first piece open for a while now. We've got about 3 miles done, 3 miles funded, and another 6 miles that we do not have funding for. A big part of that before we can fund anything is that we have to have the property in the possession of the city, county, or Ozark Greenways. And so the other 6 miles, we just do not have that right of way or those easements acquired. We did get a big grant from DED for 1.3 million using some of the COVID relief funds. And then we put some of our COVID relief funds on there. But the next thing that you'll see will be an overpass over Highway 65. It's about $4 million. It will have this black railing. We hope it'll be a showcase for the community and say Chadwick Flyer Trail on it. So we're very excited about that as well. And that alignment is on our trail plan. So I put a link in there and here as well for that. And this is kind of the trail network that we have planned. We don't have it funded, but we do have a goal to build another 45 miles of trail by 2045. And we're working really hard at that. We had an increase in federal funds that is helping us to get there, but this is what the network looks like. It takes partnerships, it takes cities and counties planning and providing matching funds, but I think we're making a lot of advancements there. So if you have properties that, you're wondering, will the trail eventually be here? That's a resource for that. I think everybody heard, well, I don't know if everybody did, but the governor announced $90 million for I-70. So that is a federal discretionary grant. We have asked for money for I-44 unsuccessfully. We've asked for money for MM. We're putting another grant this year, asking for 25 million. I think Grant Avenue is the only local project that we've had that was successful in some of this discretionary funding. And then of course we got a safety grant that was discretionary federal funds. So we're continuing to work on that. One of the things I wanted to point out, and I know you talked about how long Kansas took, which is atypical for it to take that kind of time. Most projects take about 5 years. So when we decide that's the project we want to do, it's about 5 years just because of all the federal red tape, the environmental, the right-of-way requirements. Some of you probably dealt with that in the past. It's quite a process to get multiple appraisals and then sign-offs and all of that. So Kansas, I guess a side note, since you mentioned Kansas, one of the reasons it took so long is because we had it as a line on the plan, and as each subdivision went in, Greene County acquired that property. So when we had it on the map back in the late 80s, early 90s, I would consider that kind of the start date, right? And then as property was acquired and funding was located, that's kind of what moved it forward. I will say we're about 3 years in environmental approval, so it could have been done a long time ago had it not been for the bats, but that's another story for another day. So probably our biggest challenges are the federal aid process, all the paperwork and the environmental. We have not been super successful in additional funds. So when you hear Congress talk about all the money for infrastructure, we have not been really successful because we just don't have, while we do have disadvantaged populations, we just don't have the vast numbers that other places have. Of course, we're working to decrease traffic crashes and keep up with growth and inflation. Inflation is probably the top challenge here locally because road projects are about 30% more than they were 2 years ago. And so we just don't get to do or see as many projects as we once did. And I couldn't help myself from throwing in on access, which is number one, the more access points per mile on a roadway, the slower you can travel. So this was a study done by a federal highway. You know, if you have 40 driveways in a mile stretch, then you're going to have speeds of 10 miles slower. So it's a trade-off that we make. More driveways will go slower. Fewer driveways, we can go faster. Some of the benefits of access management are fewer crashes. I think we call it a suicide lane for a reason. It's a suicide, it's where you're gonna crash, right? And then finally, you know, with subdivisions, when they connect, that means we can get to neighborhoods directly rather than going out on the street, on the major street. So when everybody has to go out on a major street, that slows us down, that increases crashes, and that overloads those roads, and we have to continually try to find ways out of congestion. Or if you could just directly connect to your neighbor in the neighborhood next to you, that would help a lot on travel demand on our roadways. So really, I wanted to leave, I hope I left enough time for some questions, because I just imagine there would be some, so.
We're gonna talk about University Heights and how the traffic pattern is a mess.
I don't.
Okay, well. Or could you? Like, cause that's congested anyway, right? Like, adding one more, what would that do for that intersection?
I think we've made some decisions, the way that we've developed, that are now impacting us. And it's not an easy solution, honestly, so.
So a lot of what you're doing takes 5+ years to even plan out. How do you even establish what future is going to look like, and how do you keep up with that?
So there are, nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
We try to look at trends in growth and project into the future. In fact, we're doing, we call it a travel demand model. And we're kind of redoing that right now with some new projections. And I'm thinking that we might want to use this 1.1% growth rate to factor in. We've used a lot higher in the past because of all that growth that we experienced back in the early 2000s. So you take the population projection and then you take employment, right? Because the majority of the traffic is going to work. And so we try to allocate out population to where they're going for their jobs and make an educated guess or a model. It's a complex software package on what that would look like in the future. So I guess that's the answer to your question.
I'm curious how the bat situation got resolved. Did you guys gather up all the bats and relocate them on Kansas, or, I mean,
Let's express my opinion. So bats have a natural time of the year from November to March when they nest in the trees, right? So where we ran into problems, right, where we ran into problem is we sent environmentalists out and they said there are none of these endangered bats. There are some bats, but not endangered bats. Well, the powers that be decided that we could have missed the bats. They could still be there, you know, we need to just assume that the bats are there. So what happened was Greene County had to pay, I forget the number, 180,000 or something, into the bat fund for Missouri. Where up in northern Missouri, they have a bat habitat that I'm sure all of our bats flew from down here up there as soon as March passed, right? So we've saved the bats with this contribution to a bat fund.
How has the pandemic changed your process of how you operate or what you look at?
I think that the whole work from home thing is probably the bigger factor, right? We're trying to understand, is that going to continue or is that a short-term thing? I think that we definitely saw the peak hour traffic go down. It seems to be kind of rebounding now, but you know, what does that look like going forward? I think so many employers are so much more flexible too. I mean, just the AMI days at school, that's just, you know, that's new from the pandemic and something to deal with. So, yeah.
Are there projections, I may have missed this, sorry, are there projections as far as the population growth for our area for the next like 5 to 10 years? Is it gonna stay steady at that 1%-ish?
We're working on some new projections, but yes, we do believe that is the case.
Those permits that you talked about with housing, does that include like multifamily as well?
Yes, so we track, and if you go to our report, we track both single family and multifamily. So it's interesting that there has been a shift toward the multifamily, at least permits being issued. So, you know, we track when the permit's issued. It might take a year for those to be open, especially on multifamily. But yeah, it's very interesting and you can go to our report, but you know, used to it was Springfield. Springfield had multifamily, everyone else had single family, and now we're seeing that multifamily, especially in Ozark, Nixon, Republic as well.
Any other questions? I thought it was interesting. Oh, so there.
Amy, I was just curious, if we have a buyer that's coming to this area and they're asking questions about what potential development is gonna happen, it's, you know, behind their house or things like that, what resource or where do we send them to look to see what is already on the books for future development?
So I can, you know, this kind of stuff can help you with roads. But I'm starting to see, especially in Republic, they have a really good online map that shows all their development tracked. So I think that's a really good resource. I think you guys know about zoning maps and future land use maps. I think that's probably your best resource. You know, it may not have anything happening now, but here's, you know, what the zoning is now and here's what they're planning for it to be.
And for OTO, this is their Facebook page and their website up there. And all these maps she was talking about, you can see what's projected for the future. I love that you see the housing permits. So you know where the builders are going. I thought that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and one of the neat things I found is the school districts, if you've ever looked at some of their demographic studies, they're really interesting too, as far as projected growth. I think there's.
Yeah, can we get your PowerPoint that you had?
Yeah, you have it, so.
Yep, well, we'll share it.
Nice.
Anything else?
Thank you
for
so
sharing
much.
with us today. One of the team meetings where it's something you can use beyond just contracts and this and that. There's a whole bunch of more information you need. So my favorite slide, what are your action items from this?
Get your listings ready.
Anything else? All right, reminder next week, Vision Breakfast. One of my favorite Tuesdays of the year. Breakfast starts at 9. We'll start the team slide probably around 9:20-ish. If we get the Zoom going right, it'll start around 9:20 also. But come on in if you can. It's gonna be a great time. It's like family breakfast together. And that's what we got for this week. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all online. Have a wonderful week.